I still get like the heebie-jeebies of like, is it gonna work type feeling.
Yeah.
And it's when you messaged me, I was like, there's no reason I'm gonna say no, like at all. And you are like the perfect agency archetype or avatar. Like I remember you're like, Jeff, I want to do dentist. I want to do real estate. I'm having a heart attack. How am I supposed to feel about all this? I'm like, damn, that is like actually like a damn good interview. And this is going to be a cool one. And we're
I'm so
live
excited.
now, right?
Great.
And for the 65,000 people or so, right, in the group now, I don't think the vast majority know who you are, what you've been doing, or your transformation, right? So can you just tell us like where you are now in your agency journey? And then we're going to flash back to back when you were in Canada talking sops with me on a cruise, right? So like
Yeah.
tell us where you are right now in your agency journey.
So actually right now, at this very moment, I actually now live in Colombia because I run 2 agencies, all specialized in real estate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a much different change where I have one of my agencies that works completely without me now. I check in kind of once a week with that agency where we do content for realtors. And that's what led to this company behind me here, which is a 185 person enterprise level call center that that I'm a business partner with because they saw what I was doing with realtors and they thought, can you do the same thing? Because they do it for wholesalers. And, it was a lot more complicated than that. I'm probably selling myself short, but now I run 2 agencies that all help realtors. So we help them on the content side.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to do something that was completely different than what everybody else is doing, was just Facebook ads for realtors. I really wanted to own a system that no one could take away from me, aka Mark Zuckerberg.
So it's like that Warren Buffett build a moat type of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
it's beyond doing something different. It's building a business that nobody wants to leave and nobody can replicate easily, right? Which is kind of the
Yes.
opposite of like the agency mantra of like, here's a stupid simple ad, just run it and it'll work type of feeling, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's where you are now. All right.
Yes.
We're gonna
Yeah.
go all the way back. Because when you and I talked, it was, hey, are you Jeff? And we were in a terminal at an airport on a cruise. And it was
Yeah.
me, Becker, and I forget who else. And we had fallen asleep at breakfast because we got off a red eye at Andrew Cruzy's event going to a Ross Williams cruise. And I was like, I can't live like this, guys. Like I'm falling asleep. Like we're at breakfast. So like we all fell asleep at the table, like holding our heads. And then we fell asleep at the airport waiting lounge. And I think that's where you and I saw each other, right?
Yeah.
Where were you back then at that moment?
Oh, so at that point, it had been about 6 months since I had shut down my prior company. So I had a pre-made meal delivery service and we grew that company pretty large. We had chefs and we had all kinds we have a catering truck. We had a cafe. We were delivering like 2,000 meals a week. And then the business was not doing well. It was really hard to employ people. My dad had stage 4 cancer. I had just had a baby and I was like, this is not fun. I am not having a good time. So we decided to shut it all down. And then it left us like $200,000 in debt.
Yeah.
And I had just started. I had a couple of realtors, I had a couple of chiropractors, I had a couple of physios, but the business wasn't really doing well. And I saw that this cruise was coming out. And because you and Steph were going and speaking on the cruise, I just knew that I had to go and meet you in person. I'd never met Ross before or ever even heard of him. But I was like, this is really cool because I know that if I get a chance to even talk to some of these guys and they might be able to give me some clarity on perhaps what I'm doing wrong. Because at the time, I was living with my parents, like me, 2 kids, my husband, failed business, feeling pretty low on life. And I'll never forget, we were on the beach at the cruise and I was like almost in tears complaining about a single client who was paying me, I think like $500 a month. And I'm thinking I'm this horrible, horrible marketer and business owner. Yeah. And you set me straight, Jeff. And I always say, I always tell you, Jeff just needs to go and yell at me again. Yeah. Even though you never really raise your voice, but you certainly set me straight on that results can't really matter on just one person. And then why are you servicing so many different? And yeah, that was an interesting conversation.
Was that the Cabanas or was that?
That was the Cabanas.
The Cabanas. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it was like my first ever event going away somewhere. And I was like, this is crazy. Like this is a write-off. Like
And it was like a huge leap of faith because it's not like you were on great financial footing to take time off, to leave and say, good luck. Maybe we'll have an idea type of thing, right?
Yes, exactly. Could not afford it. Could not. But I knew something was saying you have to go on this cruise. You have to go and hang out with these people,
Yeah.
see what's possible. And that just really opened my eyes to really what the online world was truly all about.
Me, Steph, Nick Robbins, he gave you some advice too. Sema was there. There must have Corey, he does JR was there. There was like a good smattering of people. Did you get advice that was different from everybody, or did everybody say this is like the one singular thing?
I remember Nick Robbins had also pulled me aside in that moment. I actually did cry. Because when I got up and I had you as part of this cruise, you were able to like get up and speak and like say that you were speaking on a Royal Caribbean cruise and all that. And after I got off the stage, Nick was like, "Yo, you're servicing ecom too? Like, girl, what are you doing?"
I remember.
And I was just, working an insane amount of time, not getting to spend the time that I wanted with my kids, feeling like a failure because now one business has flopped. Now we went all in on me. We decided to keep my husband home with the kids and allow me to just work a lot. And he was just like, you really, really need to focus and you need to focus down on one thing because what you're trying to do is too much. He's like, obviously you're really smart, you know your stuff, but you need to pick a niche. So a lot of the advice was really about kind of the same thing.
You had chiropractors, real estate agents, e-commerce. You're coming off food truck, and not ads for food truck, like full food truck, right?
We did run. That's how I grew it so fast, and that's what allowed me to like even win an awards. I won an award from the Whistler Chamber of Commerce. It was like Business Person of the Year, and it's funny when I started off the food delivery. When I started off the food delivery business, I had Shopify just came out. It was a brand new thing. And I was like, oh, we need to take payment. So I'm going to use this Shopify thing because it's like easy to take money online. And for the longest time, we only ever treated it like it was just a way to take a credit card instead of treating it like a true e-com store. So it wasn't until I learned how to do Facebook ads, how to do really great video marketing, and how to put that story together to allow people into their homes to feed their families.
So that was where you cut your teeth on the skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have this like idea of like, I've got a level 10 skill set with a level 2 opportunity? And the reason why I bring it up is like, no matter what, like delivering food will always have a one-on-one to a margin, right? There's never one to many, and it's not an increasing margin. You don't get better at your job. Like it's always going to be food delivery. You're going to have to buy this stuff, sell this stuff type of thing. Did you have this concept of like, I've got a level 10 skill set and level 2 opportunity, or you were just so inundated with this, like everything sucks right now, I don't even know what to do type of feeling?
I think it was like I'm kind of glad that I was being completely naive about the situation when I was in there, because I had some mentors who were really high up in the tech space and they were trying to get us funding to find a way to like bring more tech in, and they called us tech even though we were just making food.
Just Shopify like techie. What techie is there?
But I'm glad I was so naive because I did stick it out. I did realize that like, hey, I think I am kind of good at this. And it was my husband who was like, you should go and do this for other people. Because once I had won that award, I had all kinds of business owners being like, can you do that for my business too? And I kept saying no, and I kept saying no. And then I remember the very first person I brought on was like an aesthetic salon.
Yep.
I charged her $1,500 to fix her website, build out email marketing campaigns, do all of her social media, and run Facebook ads for her. And she was a nightmare.
One of those things is $5,000. You do it $1,500 for all of them.
I know.
So you won the award. That was really like the bookend to like, all right, this is not going to work type of thing. You have remnant clients across a million different industries, probably doing different things for everybody, right? Like you're doing one thing for your chiropractor client, another thing for your real estate agent. You go to the cruise and somewhere something proximity is power, Tony Robbins, blah, blah, blah. You're like, something changes in my brain. And that was to I don't want to use the word pick a niche because there's a lot of weight to that word type of thing. But it was like
Mm-hmm.
focus on repeatable clients. Was it like focus on a
Mm-hmm.
process, like a product? Was it focus on a client? Like what was the takeaway of like those dozens of conversations you were always having?
It definitely was focused that if I was going to get good and actually be able to scale and, like you said, create a repeatable process, I
Yeah.
couldn't be servicing all these other people because I only had a couple of people. Like I had a couple of people over in the Philippines doing like design work for me and the odd
Yeah.
thing. So I didn't really have a team to fulfill. It was all me. And I really had to kind of double down. It's funny, Shane, who I know you've had previous, like a few years ago,
Yeah.
that's when he had his real estate course. And I was like, okay, I do this already for realtors. I already have a couple. I kind of understand this niche and I already have these case studies to move off of. So I'm going to learn everything. And I devoured his course in like under a week. There's something ridiculous. I think there's like 30 hours of content in there. And then made the decision that that's all that I was going to do.
So that's when you said, I'm going to focus and go as much as I can into real estate. And it was specifically what service for real estate agents? Was it advertising, marketing, design? What was the product that you were doing for this industry?
So I started off because we were good at video and because we were good at social, but in order
Mhm.
to properly really scale and create that repeatable process, I started layering on things like Facebook ads,
Yeah.
and then bringing in various ISAs to help them out with lead flow, and that morphed into then working as a 360 approach on
Yeah.
all of their items to make them more sticky to stay around longer. And I also saw that. Um, Doing lead gen for realtors is really, really hard because you're you're 100% depending upon them to have a good sales process. And
Yeah.
I love my clients, I love my realtors, but they think of themselves as salespeople when the majority of them had only ever closed a deal from somebody who already knew, like, and trusted them.
Yes.
So when you're trying to convince somebody, as we all know, who clicks on something from the internet to do the biggest transaction of your life,
Yeah.
you got to be really good to make that happen. So that's why I love what we do here at the call center because I can control everything right up until they get on the phone. And then
Yeah.
we're having different conversations when you can't close somebody that I just transferred you who confirmed that they're not working with a realtor. They're ready
Yeah.
to move and they have the motivation.
So you've weaponized this like live transfer process, right? So like
Mhm.
your ownership of the advertising and marketing journey is like you'll generate the lead, you'll qualify them, get them on the phone, ask them a series of questions, and then, hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, have the conversation. Kind of like what I did with dentists, which provides a lot of confidence in your service. So tell me if I'm wrong here. All of a sudden, you're not having this like, I'm not good at my job, spiritual breakdown because you have, I guess, all the data and the recordings the whole way through. Is that correct?
Exactly. We know everything from start to finish. We have an entire quality control team that even
Yeah.
listens to the phone call to confirm
Beautiful.
that this is in fact a qualified lead. So our clients already know that like you don't have a hope in hell if you're going to come back and argue with me that this isn't a good lead.
And I'll bet that makes for happier clients irrespective of the results. Like at least somebody
110%.
it gives the appearance of deep, meaningful caring. Like, hey, we
Mhm.
listened in, everything is kosher on our end. Here's 2 or 3 things you need to change in the future. For example, please don't be eating while you're on the phone, like that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's there's a lot that goes into when you're working in a niche where it takes them a long time to get a result.
Yeah.
And so, in real estate, as a real estate transaction as it is, it's 2 to 4 months to get it closed. And then when you layer on finding people at the very beginning of the start of whether they're
Mhm.
looking to buy or sell, then you layer that on top of it as well. So while it's important to me to make sure that the delivery of that lead is absolutely flawless, it's also important to me to take it 10 steps further with every single real estate agent and ensure that they have the tools and the resources in order to close those deals because they're not going to stick around long if they're not getting deals closed, no matter
Right.
how good your service is.
So does that mean that you've got your 90-day ROI, 180-day ROI conversation? Because we're going to talk about like your first 100 days. Like that's how you keep people, right? But
Mhm.
when are you checking in and making sure you have the conversation about like, hey, you've generated a deal, and here's why I ask. I have, just like everybody else, made my clients money and they still cancel. I have had clients where we didn't make any money and they still renewed. So like, how do you manage that difference? Do you have like check-in points, or what does that look like for you and your business? Like 90 days, 180 days. What does that look like?
Every single week. So
Oh,
when that client,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So when that client comes on, especially if you're doing other activities that aren't just a straight lead generation, when you're involving things like branding, I learned from the beginning that at the beginning, I want to know how many deals you've done so far,
Mhm.
because once I turn on my stuff, you're going to be turning on more. And sometimes you might not always want to directly attribute that back to me, even though we do know that the branding of the video and the organic is absolutely going to bring back clients out of the woodworks for them.
Yeah.
But on top of that, we check in with them every single week, because I don't want to have conversations at the end of the month or at
Mhm.
the end of the 90 days that these leads were no good. Because when I can hold you accountable and I can show you how many live transfers, how many appointments
Yeah.
we set, I know their names, I know the conversations, I see whether or not you've been applying notes inside of the CRM, then that's where the conversation completely shifts. I mean, we've got a client that's been with me since October,
Yeah.
and he still has yet to close a deal. But it's never the leads. He knows it's
Yeah.
not the leads. So they're coming back to me to find more ways to get more deals done, because they trust us that in what we're doing, because we put the care in, because we check in with them, even if things aren't going the way that they should, even if they're not getting the leads in the door.
Now, you didn't know this when you started out. I'm not getting the feeling of like, hey, we had this master plan. Look at my Google Doc. This is everything we're doing, right? There's no way in hell. So, like, let's go back to when you went to your like real estate clients and you're like, hey, we got this new thing. I'm doubling down and focusing. Like, what has that conversation been like? Because we know where you are now. We know like the tree of ideas when you got off the cruise and you said I'm gonna focus on the real estate. So bring us back to that point. What did that look like for you in your journey?
So it was kind of a light bulb moment during COVID, because prior to COVID, I tried to go and meet all of my clients in person. And the way in which
Yeah.
I would do that is I'd sell them on like a video content package, and I'd spend the day with them and we become the best of friends. And they're like,
Mhm.
okay, Kara's a mover. She knows, she's got my best interest at heart.
Yep.
She knows me. And then COVID came, and then we were signing on all these clients and then not getting the chance to go and meet with them in person and do all these connection building.
Yeah.
So I recognized too, as on top of that, is that once we really started to scale and I was no longer doing the CSM work,
Mhm.
that connection breaks again. So it was a combination of that plus spending time with you and your dental course. That
Yeah.
auditing system that you guys have was just like such a game changer for us to import into the business. And then especially, if you have things like a guarantee in
Yeah.
place where you're going to make sure that I'm going to promise this, but you need to be doing this. The worst thing that you can be doing is reminding the client of the guarantee when the guarantee is up.
Yes.
You have to be reminding them week after week after week of like, hey, Mr. Client, you're about to void your guarantee with me because you're not doing X, Y, and Z like we said that you would in order for me to fulfill my promise. So again, it just completely changes the narrative when you're checking in with them every single week to see if things are going up to speed.
Did you always know that you're going to have this like video content branding side and then the ad side as well? Like, how did that product evolve for you?
So I always did the video, and the branding was always something that was just so much fun for me. Like I
Yeah.
had so much fun doing that with my first company, and that's why people brought me in. And then I layered on Facebook ads because that's what the community kind of told me that I should be doing in order to really, really scale. And we did scale. We did hit 100 months, but then at the same time, I got a ton of chargebacks and I got unhappy clients.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with the narrative that only 10% of most agencies
Yeah.
get their real estate agents results. That is not okay with me. That's not sustainable because you eventually will burn out through no matter how large that niche is.
Yep.
So that's where we started really getting into doing short form video.
Yep.
And I got into the community. So Shane Miller has built quite a large real estate community. I don't think he does much of marketing services now. And he's brought me in to coach inside of his program, which
Yep.
led me to meeting one of their TikTok coaches. And I was
Yep.
like, and he's a realtor who was killing it on TikTok. And I was like, bro, your stuff is great, but I could make it better.
Yeah.
And so we struck a deal and he became our star client, which allowed us to really showcase like, hey, like one of our agents closes over $1 million in GCI. So in
Yeah.
commissions, not retail sales. And that's really what catapulted us further. And so what I was able to do was build an agency that had happy team members, happy clients, no chargebacks, and people that stuck around for a long time. Because we also changed the narrative of like, hey, this is not 100. We're not going to promise the world you're going to get 3 closed deals every single month.
Or your risk or money back guarantee plus $100 wasting your time. Yeah.
Exactly. And being careful as to who we bring on and understanding who our ideal client is for that offer as well.
Before we go into probably the most important bullet point of like that 100-day journey, I want to talk about that content plan. And the reason why is I have seen and experienced more clients interested in that awareness phase, like the TikTok, right? Or the Facebook or the Instagram, or like, I want to be an influencer. I want to be famous. I want to be in real estate. The Ryan Serhant, is that who they quote? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like, I want to be that
Ryan
guy.
Serhant.
Serhant. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's from a flawed philosophy of like, if I just become more well known, I will make more money. That's not like the one-on-one relationship. You can be famous and still be poor, right? But the brain goes, if I just had more eyeballs, right? So when I was having conversations with dentists, there are actually 2 layers. One of them was, I need to get an ROI on my marketing. I need to have quality patients show up. Also, if you could just make me the go-to person and super famous in Chicago, that would be great as well, right? I'm like, I'm not going to do both, okay? Like, in fact, I don't even want to do this one because you don't got this, you know? So like, how do you got a face for radio, right? So like, so how do you run shop? What is the TikToking for real estate agents look like? Do you say like, hey, here's your 5 scripts. Here's how you move your cameras. Do you say film everything and send it, we'll edit? Like, what does that look like for you?
So it's at the very beginning, it's managing of expectations and moving through a phased approach with them. So the first thing that you need to make them realize is that anybody who's under the age of 35 is going to come and look at your TikTok. They're going to look at your Instagram before they agree to buy or sell a house with you. And if you do not have video that features your voice and your face, that's not just in one giant MLS feed or pictures of the pizza that you had last night, then they're likely to choose somebody else. So the first thing that you need to start with, let's just get into what are your ideal clients. So are they millennials? Are they young families? Are they retirees? What is that? And then what are the biggest?
Does anybody fight you on that avatar research process? And then they say, I sell everybody. And you're like, no, man, you know, you don't. Okay. You clearly. So like, I'm having that conversation now with people in my own program. They're like, we do all restaurants. I was like, no, you don't, man. There's like 10 different types of restaurants. All right. You're not doing fine dining. You're doing like fast luxury. So what does that conversation on that avatar research process look like? Like, do they all go, I do everybody? Do they do like for VA loans or VA buyers? What does that look like for you?
So once we explain how the algorithms truly work at the end of the day, especially on TikTok, they listen a lot more intently. So when you explain it to a realtor that you can have an executive as an avatar and you can also have a young family as an avatar. But when we create content that gets towards their biggest fears, desires, and goals that speak directly to that mom who's trying to look for a high-end house but has yoga and the best coffee shops in town versus the executive who wants to make sure that he has a kick-ass office in his house, and then that content that's you. That content of the TikTok algorithms, because so much of it is based upon demographics and what kind of content that they're already engaging with, you allow that to find that person on those platforms. And then you're actually creating content that allows people to actually give a shit about, like they're going to like it, they're going to engage with it, versus just here's 10 reasons why you need to sell your house in the winter.
So I've seen real estate agents have that, and it's so non-exciting. It's almost like a statement of sentences of like, thank you very much for not caring. Goodbye, swipe, right? And if I saw a video that was like, here's the top 10 home offices in Miami, I swear I'd watch that whole thing through and through. If I saw, what is it, like a yoga studio, like the top 5, I don't even know, right?
Right.
Is that what you're trying to communicate? Which is like, if you want to appeal to Jeff's, your TikTok feed should be their buying and selling points. Is that correct?
Correct. Because one of the books that really allowed me to get clear on my business and the ways in which I guide my realtors is a book called The Pumpkin Planner. And it's all about You have to build a business of people that you can actually profit off of, but that you enjoy serving. And if you try to serve everybody, it's a big giant metaphor for this guy who goes to like the fair and he has a big pumpkin that gets him like $2,000 every year. But he notices, I know, just roll with me here.
Just go with it. Okay, pumpkins.
Just go with it. But he finds out that all the other pumpkins, that if they're dying on the vine, then they'll actually affect the big, beautiful pumpkin that he's trying to bring to the state fair that year. So it's the same way in which we approach our businesses. So if you truly want to work with executives, then why are you making content that's going to appeal to a first-time home buyer or to the home loans for veterans, right? You want to appeal to that person. It still doesn't mean that you can't buy and sell with the referrals of the people of whom you get in.
Yeah.
But if you're going to create a channel that's going to bring people in who don't know you and you want them to like and trust you, they better know that you know how to solve their problems. Because great marketing at the end of the day, somebody just wants a big old hug and to be told that it's all going to be okay and that you're just going to solve all my problems.
It's pretty accurate. I just want my marketing to hug me. That was it, right? So a real estate agent pays you a buttload of cash and you say, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation about who you serve. Either real estate agent is going to be incorrect and say like, I serve everybody. You go like, no, you don't. Okay. If you want success with your marketing, but you really say the term like the TikTok algorithm, which makes them say, okay, that's obviously correct. Because if you say it from you, they're going to fight you. But if you say it's God Almighty TikTok or God Almighty Zuckerberg, they say, okay, fine, right? So you say, look, we got to go through an avatar research process to figure out your dream clients and customers, figure out their needs, wants, fears, and goals, what they hate, what they try, their talking points, all that. And then let's just say you do that little sheet, right? The first thing in my brain is going, but this dude is like 65 years old, overweight with a tight tie, trying to sell to 35-year-old millennium crypto bros, right? So what happens when like that guy don't look good on camera? What happens when he can't control TikTok? Like what happens step 2 after you figure out that avatar research process?
Yes, the first step, the first initial offer that we have is going through that, what we call the authority attraction. The second step is what I learned. We spent a few days with Ryan Megan back in December, and he's been unofficially mentoring me. He's the same guy who's behind Alex Ramosi, Grant Cardone, Ryan Pineda, some really, really big accounts. And one of the biggest things that we learned from him is that content is great to have, and that's great to showcase to clients, but it's never going to blow them up. It's not going to make them the local celebrity, and it's not going to get them a lot of views. So we actually have to extract what makes these people actually interesting. And we don't so much now focus it just on real estate. We want to focus on other pieces that the young, like what we find on TikTok especially, is that if you can make content about making money, side hustles, how to communicate, how to date better, anything about love, sex, money, as we all know, seems to do really well. So if we can find out things about them, crazy past stories about them, funny ways that they've made money, that will amplify the brand. And in order for you to get big views, if the younger TikTokers don't find it interesting, you're never going to reach your older demographic. So even though it's 35 to 50, and that's who you end up wanting to appeal to, the content that goes viral first has to push through the younger demographic.
So going back to like Russell Brunson and all that, does that mean we got to find your potato cannon story type of thing? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So you got to have like a conversation about like, what's your background? What's your history? We got to have talking points, people points, like a storytelling soap opera sequence session type of thing. Right?
Exactly.
Cool. Okay. So we've got 30 selling points on why I think a front porch waterfall is a great idea. A wine cellar that you can see in transparent staircases. Millennial 35 think is the coolest thing in the world, right? Like a James Bond villain house. That's what we're going for. All right, cool. So I'm the target client. Real estate agent, writes down all my selling points, knows how to appeal to me, has some humanizing stuff as well. So it's not just everything about a transparent wine cellar and a garage that's way too clean to be used. Cool. So now we got 2 big chunks of content. What's that third step in that? I guess you could say content leverage program. What do we call this process?
So we call it the TikTok famous booster package.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
the next key steps are creating content that increases the DMs to come in, and then we
Yeah.
help work those DMs into the actual leads. So we try not to sell too much in the actual reels themselves,
Mhm.
and we want to get their Instagram and Facebook story views up quite a bit, and that's where we encourage people to come through as a lead in the DMs.
So like a 2-step, or DM me now, or we got this house, you're interested, comment, reply. And then
Exactly.
your team is in the DMs.
That's right. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Mhm.
So you've
Yeah.
got that whole infrastructure set up, and then you turn on paid ads, and it just is a supplement to everything that you're doing.
We actually don't do paid ads anymore. I think we will turn things back on now that I have this call center here, but I definitely learned that running a virtual ISA team is pretty tough.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough. And I like to be able to control the entire narrative before they go and spend a boatload of money on those items. But
Mhm.
now that we have this in-person version, I think that we will move into that next iteration for sure.
Wait. I'm going to repeat what I heard, which is we're running a very successful margin-based, moat-based business serving real estate agents entirely on organic plus appointment setting. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's fucking beautiful.
And it's
So-
just funny because like so many people over the years, the guru said that content doesn't scale.
Yeah. And
But
it's
it
a
does.
lie. It totally does.
Yeah.
And I'll
Yeah.
bet the organic nature of the conversation, or the organic nature of the customer journey. So they'll be doing their thing. TikTok goes, obviously you want to see that. They go through the feed and they're self-converting over time. None too different than a profile funnel on Facebook,
Exactly. Mhm.
which is a higher yield and a better conversation than interrupting my view with an ad with a wild, wavy salesperson, car dealership thing, right?
Exactly. What like they end up consuming a lot of videos before they end up reaching out. So when they reach out to our client, it's like that's their best friend.
Yeah.
There's no more, the client's not picking up the phone and they're going, "Who are you? I don't remember what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't remember filling out this form." It's like, "I've been watching your content for the last 3 months. I'm finally ready to put my house up on the market. I could think of nobody else than you. I
Yeah.
think you're amazing. When can you come and see my house?" Those are the kind of conversations that we're trying to create.
And that KLT very quickly is done en masse, en scale, one to many, with content that's curated and purposeful and meaningful, as opposed to an ad that is trying to be so punchy because you only have 3.5 seconds, and then you're not even controlling your thumb when it happens. Now you're on the phone with somebody, you're like, I don't even remember. Is that correct?
Exactly.
The dream.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, the big thing that we wanted to go over today was not necessarily when you got started, now where you are. It was not necessarily the organic TikTok or fame approach. It was really this 100-day journey. Now, here's my experience. As somebody that's buying agency services, the second I write the check, it's that chasm. I'm starting to regret it really, really quickly, right? Really, really quickly. And then it's a conversation about why isn't it up and running immediately? Like,
Mhm.
I paid Amazon, showed up at my house 3 hours later. What do you mean it takes 6 weeks? Right?
Mhm.
As a provider of agency services, my fulfillment is done in 30 minutes. So I'm really like racking my brain on like why shit isn't done faster as like a human being. Like, why does traffic exist? Come on, let's go faster. What
Mhm.
you've done is you've taken a 100-day journey, and tell me if I'm wrong here. If a client goes through this 100-day journey successfully, they almost never leave. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a book called How to Never Lose a Customer by Joey Coleman. And he wrote
Mhm.
this book maybe, I'd say like 8 years ago. And the bank, like if you ever see the banks with like free iPad, free iPhone, and then like the very bottom, a little asterisk that says, this much money in the account plus must be a customer for 100 days.
Yeah.
Because the banks figured out a long time ago that if you can keep somebody on for 100 days, then statistically we see that they stay on. And then when you extract that and you look at the agency landscape, that's usually that 3-month point is how long somebody has to stay on to really start seeing an ROI with an agency.
Yeah.
So what are all the steps in between that you need to do that are both internally facing? So what does your team need to be doing and checking up on and making calls and sending out gifts and videos? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But what does your client have to see externally? What do they have to see on the outside so that they know that all of their money is actually being put to hard work?
Yeah. And they pay you a one-time fee. Is that correct? Or it's a monthly recurring?
Depends on the model, depends on the agency,
Gotcha.
and it depends on the product that we bring them in. But regardless of which and how, you have to have something like this in place.
You need to
100%.
have that 100-day journey right now.
Mm-hmm.
When you're
Mm-hmm.
selling your programs, are you saying we're going to start on a 100-day journey? Or is it like, hey, now that you're in, let's build out this process? Or like, where does that 100-day journey, is that like a selling point, or what does that look like for you?
We don't talk about it as a selling point because I don't want my, like 100 days I think can seem quite scary to somebody because they're
Yeah.
just thinking about like, what am I going to get today? What we really need to figure out is from what are all the steps from the time that somebody has that very first swipe of their credit card
Yeah.
to up to that 100 days. So we don't talk about it a lot in the sales process per se, but a lot of what sparked this is, I've been, unofficially coaching other agencies throughout my, last 18 months or so.
Mhm.
And I noticed that they would say things like, if my client just put 100% effort in, they'd get the win.
Yes, I know. If they put 100% in, they wouldn't need you. Okay. Like,
Right.
if I went to the
Or
gym,
they-
I would be skinnier. Yes, you're 100% correct. Okay.
Exactly. Or they'd say things like, Kara, I made this university, and they come in and there's like over 20 hours of content. And I've given them everything that they need to know in order to win, but yet they don't use it. And it's like, well, duh, like you're not supposed to be making more work for them. So when I started to extract it and look it over, okay, I need my client to get wins as quickly as possible. Well, how do they do that? Well, they have to actually understand how this system works, and they have to get true adoption. But the last thing that we want to do is just spit a whole bunch of information at them at once. And really what we want to do is we want to drip little tiny bits of information out over the course of those 100 days. So at the very start of that is, how do you log into GHL?
Yeah.
How do you check the conversations tab? How do you do notes? And then we start turning things up a bit in terms of the scripts, the objections. Like I even tell my real estate agents, who should already know this, how do you properly do a listing presentation? And we go through a very specific training on how to do that. And that is, again, it's not just like vomited all over them at the very beginning when they come in as a client. These are 3 to 5 minute videos that get dripped out over time that are not held behind a wall that they have to log into, because we know that they're very busy and they're coming and going. And we want them to be able to easily go back and find that little tidbit of information later on.
Interesting. So do you have this like fancy looking Google spreadsheet of like week 1, week 2, week 3, check mark, check mark, check mark? And I'll bet you've purposely put in the small videos that like just to get the check mark momentum, right? Like I did the first one. Oh, win. Second one. Oh, win. Third one. A little bit harder, but we can. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we have everything from top to bottom to, this is a text message they get on day one. This is the email that they get, the woohoo, your ads just went live. This is the Zap that we have that connects to our handwritten thank you card. Now this day they're going to get an Amazon gift card. Now on this day, we're going to go and stalk their profile, see what they're into so that we can send them a really personalized gift. Everything from day one down to day 100. And then when we go through that, when you want to dream it and build it, you want to go back through and identify what of this can be automated so that it really takes a lot of work off of the CSM's plate. Because with the right system in place, you should never be getting a, hey, what's happening with my account email from a client. Hey, I haven't heard from you guys. Hey, what's going on?
So this goes beyond, and it's like a mechanization of like, I'm going to send you a Loom video once a week type of thing. This is many times more advanced than that idea. What are some like the big points or something that's like most people wouldn't imagine it in there? Like I get the whole like send them a card. Okay, fine. Yeah, I get it. All right. But is there something that's like, you'll never guess that we added this in and all of a sudden everybody loves it type of thing?
So like, for example, in week 3, once for this business here, in week 3, once we've done the now 3rd week of audits, and we've already sent them some videos on how to do proper objection handling, we've already sent them a few different things on scripts, how to use the system. If on the week 3, we see that they're not applying what we've taught them, all a CSM has to do is just apply one single tag, and what we've built inside of our GHL, what it will automatically get them in, send them now the videos back again, address it, and then schedule a Zoom call with them because we're like, you need to watch this. You need to consume this before you get on the Zoom call with us. And then you're going to have a 30-minute session and we're going to go through everything together again.
So if I'm the real estate agent and I'm taking these calls and I'm getting the same objection 3 or 4 times, your CSMs can apply a tag after they listen to the recording. And pretty quickly, me, the real estate agent, will receive a text message saying, hey, dummy, look, you didn't obviously, clearly you can't follow instructions. We told you to go to the objection handling training, but we're not going to put that. We're going to say, hey, it looks like you get better results with objection handling training. Here's a video we'd like you to watch. It's 7 minutes long on the top 10 objections and how to conquer them. We've also going to want to schedule a 30-minute Zoom call with your CSM to make sure you're implementing this. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Hot
Exactly.
damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly. You
That's
have to
really cool.
you have to continue to show up for them. You have to continue to show that it's not the leads, that we do have the tools. And it's interesting. I was working with one of my agencies the other day and one of the CSM said, but it's not my job to teach them how to close. We get them all the leads. And I was like, I'm sorry, but that's just the next iteration of where agencies have gone. And if your clients aren't closing deals, that's a problem for you.
Yeah.
And you have to have the resources there. But really, another big complaint that I hear within the community, especially owners that have CSMs, is they always want to talk to me. They never want to talk to my CSM. And that is because they do not see the CSMs as the authority. They don't have, it's people walking in the office
That's
here.
fine.
They don't see them as the authority. But when your CSMs already know what the objection is that they need to train them on, what the scripts are, how exactly they need to work these leads, they're going to stop asking to speak with the CEO and they'll be happy to speak with your CSM because you have all of these pieces built and ready to go before they're wondering anything.
So you're not saying you need to have the most amazing, perfectly top tier 30 years of experience CSM. You're saying your CSM just has to be one chapter ahead and have read the module and all of a sudden everybody's happy. Is that right?
100%. Yeah. One step ahead. That's it.
One step ahead. That's it.
They just have to be one step ahead of them.
So in the dental space, let's say by week 3 or week 4, I know that a dentist's going to call me and say, hey man, nobody is showing up. I can go ahead, look at the recordings, tag, and then send a text message to their receptionist and go like, hey, it looks like you're getting these objections again and again. Please watch these modules and chat with the CSM, who's very good at objection handling, guide you through the process. And then is there like a, thanks, you've watched it, here's a certificate type thing? Or is it that box checked on like day 99? Or what does that look like?
Yeah.
How did they say you've done it?
Yeah, so you bring up a great point of that 100-day journey. If you can find ways in which to gamify your system, and that's through getting them to watch the content that you've given them, but also if you ever have troubles receiving things back from clients, you want to figure out a way to gamify, and you let them know from day one that, we have these special gifts waiting for you because, we used to have a hard time getting videos back from them or getting their client base, their in file so that you could do a database reactivation. Any of those pieces that's hard to get back from your clients, maybe it's the onboarding, letting them know at the beginning there's a special surprise waiting for you, and then having automations further built out so that with the click of a button inside of GHL, it can launch those pieces off to send that off to that client to tell them, hey, congratulations, here's another gift card for you.
So I could have these like, God, it feels like dog treats. Like you got to treat people like a dog. Okay. Hey, Mrs. Receptionist, thanks for completing your objection handling training. Here's a $25 Starbucks coupon. Like that?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what makes like something like using Go High Level so cool is that you can see when they've clicked, you can see when they watch something, you can see how long they've watched of something.
Yeah.
And then with just a couple of webhooks and some of those platforms like Handy Written, you can automatically send those little thank you notes out, and your CSMs never even had to touch a button in order to make it happen.
What are some other interesting tidbits on that 100-day journey? And before I ask, like that objection handling sheet, is that typically like is in the first third? Does that like ad hoc? Where does that objection handling usually come in?
In the first week. So as soon as So ideally we like to get it out before their first lead is even delivered. So that very first week, there is a mindset video that comes in from the CEO that's like, thank you so much. We're really excited, but what you're about to enter into is the next level for your business. But in order to hit that next level, you too have to level up. So here's what's going to happen. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to send you some trainings. I need you to make sure that you study those because we're going to make sure that you're going to get as many deals over. And then over the next 10 days is where all of the product adoption style of trainings that get delivered out in no more than 3 to 5 minute videos so that they know exactly how to win. And then beyond that, that's where the further audits and check-ins and internal happenings are going, and then the gift giving and things like that. But those first 2 weeks are very, very pivotal to making sure that they call their leads back.
It does sound like this 100-day journey is a accelerant or a stickiness or a required like software layer for almost every single human to human business, especially if you want like retention. Like nailing that and figuring out how to weaponize and mechanize it, that applies to like everything, right? Like if I bought a video course on how to do great TikToks, I would get all sorts of geared up and excited. This is every course I've ever bought. I'll geared up and excited, motivated, and I log in and like it just drops, right? Which means I've spent $997, but I didn't spend $997 a month forever, right? If there was a hey, here's day 1, day 2, day 3, and sent to my phone, and there's no login, right? You just click it and you push play, right?
Exactly.
And that's probably like more valuable and more interesting. Like we send videos as you need them, given your current use case or something. That's probably a higher dollar than saying, hey, you're going to get 10,000 videos you're not going to go through.
Exactly.
So what else happens on so let's just say the first 30 days are mindset, objection handling. What does that second 30 days look like for you? Like stereotypically, that average agent, what does that look like for you? Is it getting content or is it something else?
So it depends on the offer. Like on the TikTok offer, that's where we're doing more of now we need to get into learning a little bit more about you, helping them discover that, giving them further trainings on how to show up better on video, how to have better cadence, tonality, making sure that they level up a little bit more on their equipment that they're bringing in, because now they have a little bit more buy-in. There's been some videos being posted, people are telling them things. Again, we don't want to tell them all this stuff at the very beginning because it's just way too much overwhelm. And then on this side of the business, now we're getting into having them attend coachings with other real estate agents with us that do really well. We have them really dial in their listing presentation. We are looking in to see, okay, now it's time to run another reactivation campaign, but it's continuing to build that up. Because usually by day 35, day 40, they're still not that great at the scripts and the objections. So we need to remind them and then send them those pieces again. So it's not unheard of to trigger that workflow to get them in watching more content of the same thing again.
It sounds like you've removed the thinking part for their business. Is that correct? Like
absolutely.
Like you've done you've handled the biggest objection, which is, man, I bought this so I don't have to think about it. Like it sounds like you figured out a way to use like the Amazon equivalent, like, hey, you're running low on laundry. I'm just going to send it to you and you'll be happy. Thanks. That's a lot higher dollar and more people would be happier to pay that than having to see and then being angry and then placing an order.
Correct.
This is really cool.
And just to layer on that, Jeff, I definitely learned through the years that when we put these wants in place and we don't have systems that allow us to automate it, you are relying upon a team member to remember to do the thing.
Right.
And so when you are relying on one person to remember to do the thing, things get messed up. Yeah. So you need to have systems in place that can automatically do these things for you that are so important, but so easy to automate, so that one CSM who forgot to make a call doesn't want to, that client doesn't want to leave.
Very interesting. And that becomes a moat and a USP very quickly. Like it becomes very difficult to, outside the box looking in, replicate your 100-day process versus saying, oh, I've got their ads. Ha ha ha.
Exactly. You're creating an experience unlike any other agency out there.
Do you Are you prescribing to the idea of like, this is almost required to be successful now?
110%. I think with every man and their dog running Facebook ads to acquire clients these days, the cost to acquire a client is exponentially going up.
Yeah.
And even if you were to dial in your client retention by just 5%, the profits that we see can be anywhere from a 25 to 95% increase in profits. And if everybody just did a little bit of math and thought, if I just kept all my clients that I've had since day one, where would you be within your agency?
5
Instead
million
of
a
just
month.
right? Instead of just obsessing over client acquisition, but obsessing over the actual client fulfillment. I think this is just the next iteration of where agencies have to head into if you're going to survive, the next couple of years.
This is really cool because all the times when I've been asked, do you have like a client or customer journey? I go, yeah, it's on a Google Doc, good luck, or a Google Sheet, good luck. And when I've been on a call or been in the CSM seat, I can clearly see what's missing, but I haven't found a way to do the one to many for the CSM thing. It's always like a human cap, and there's no softwaring or automationing behind it. And when there is, it's just so exhausting, you don't want to play with it. I find it's very, very cool to be talking to an agency owner that's going like, hey, man, it's not about like charging more or having a stronger sales process. It's about building that UX, that user experience so good that your business itself generates referrals, easy sales, and people that stick around forever. Because that's like the missing piece to everything. Like you want someone to come in, buy, and then tell 10 of their friends, right?
One thing I forgot to mention, and I think it's kind of funny, I forgot to mention this. My TikTok agency does not have a sales team. And I have not had a sales call in over 7 months now.
Yeah.
We do it all through a live webinar. We get them in on that initial offer, and then my client success managers upsell them into the recurring services and put them into their higher ticket offers because they're the ones who are managing and doing such a good job. It's a no-brainer for these people to say yes and stay on with us forever.
Kind of like how Amazon's first 10 million wasn't into a sales team, it was into free shipping. Like build a better product. What else is in this 100-day journey?
So it becomes a lot of making sure that the auditing is being done, that the clients are being called, that there are internal checks happening, that all of the benchmarking of how many leads or how much content or what's happening is actually going, and then the right stops and workflows in place to get those pieces put together. And then, of course, the personalized gifts along the way, the personalized calls, and then bringing in various coaches and people that if we recognize that something needs help, then that's a new training. So we don't do it one-to-one, but we'll build a new training on this person needs help with listings or this person needs better showing up. And then we bring in various clients who have done great jobs and then bring them in for coaching pieces as well.
Absolutely fantastic. We're coming on the back half or the back like last 5 minutes. 2 asks from the audience right now. If you have any specific questions for Kara McMaster, ask them now and we'll make sure to answer them on the live. That's number 1. And number 2, Kara, are you interested in sharing some of the details of like your 100-day journey with like 2 or 3 people on like a 15-minute call and just show them the deets and all that fun stuff? Is that kosher?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to change some agencies' lives here with what we can show them on a call for sure.
Fucking fantastic. What's going to happen is if you're interested in doing a group call with Kara, she'll show you the first 100 days of her agency's journey. And if you deeply think this can move the needle for your business for the better, hashtag Kara my face. That seems okay, right? Kara my face. Totally it could have been top 100, but it'll be Kara my face. Hashtag Kara my face. I'll pick 3 of y'all. I'll do a group chat, and then she'll jump on a group call and see what you can do to help you move your business in the right direction. Here's a couple questions. One of them is from Shari Colbin. Says, what is your price range for your branding services? What does that look like? How do you charge? How do you exchange money for your hard work?
So for TikTok and social media, it's very set pricing. We charge $1,600 for 12 videos. And then once we're ready to move them into a retainer client, we charge anywhere from $2,400 to $3,200 a month. So depending on how much content and what we're putting out.
So you're charging on, I would say, the super higher end, especially for someone that, I mean, most of it's delivered virtually, right?
Mhm.
Like you're not
Mhm.
going to their
We
office, they're
don't.
not coming to your
No.
office, nothing like that, right?
No.
So you're charging, let's just say, $2,500 a month, with
Mhm.
most done for you agencies on the ad side would kill for, but you
Mhm.
don't have an advertising cost, or you don't have a sales cost, right?
Nope.
And you've what the fuck? That is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, we used to pay like $1,200 just to acquire somebody from Facebook.
Yeah.
By the time, the conversion rates, and then I would have to pay commissions, and then we had setters, and I hated it. I hated
Same.
that process. Did not like it. So I really wanted to figure out another way. So maybe you'll have to have me in the future, and I can show these people how we do it so automated, because it works really well.
I've always secretly felt that the dollars on the sales commission should be put into a product that makes it so good people want to buy it without talking to a salesperson. That's always been my
Exactly.
secret suspicion.
Mhm.
Aaron Medina asks a very good question. What are the topics for those 12 videos? What does that look like? Are they general? Is this the talking points I mentioned earlier with that avatar research? What does that look like for
Yeah.
you?
So it's all avatar research. We figure out like 2 avatars that they want to speak to, and then we tell them what the hook needs to be.
Mm,
We tell them, we go through and help them come through 3 to 5 different points, and then we'll just sit with them on a Zoom and have them film. So we'll have them say the hook a few different times. We'll listen to them. Maybe we'll have them repeat something again, or maybe we hear them say something that was really cool that could actually be turned into a hook. And then at the end of the session, they throw it in a Google Drive and we take care of the rest.
beautiful. Sammy says, can you talk a little bit more about the types of videos and what performs best?
So the things that make you really interesting, the really cool stories, the anything that you can provide value to. What we find a lot that blows up accounts, especially on places like TikTok, is like the Gen Zs love
Yeah.
to learn how to make money. They love to learn about how to communicate better. How do you ask a girl out? Those kind of topics seem to do really, really well. But again, anything that can help them, teach them. Like one of our clients, he blew up with a huge viral video because he taught them how to house hack, how to buy a house, how to,
House hack.
right?
Why is everything a hack now? What is a house hack?
how to buy a house when you're really young, and then just have all your friends come and live with you, and then you get to live for free. And that video did really, really well for him. And then when we have videos that talk about him as the realtor that aren't as exciting, while they don't get the
Yeah.
views, those are the ones that do bring in the leads, because you've built now enough of an audience that you have people's attention.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Aaron asks a follow-up question, which just says, you're just filming that from a Zoom recording? Are you outsourcing a videographer? What about the quality? Like, how does that come into play?
So it just depends on the client. If they're big clients that have good followings and they're ready to spend money, then we organize a videographer to show up to their house where they film 1 day a month. And then the clients who aren't quite there yet, we have them help them figure out their iPhone settings, help them get a little lapel mic from Amazon, help them work out their lighting. But I do not recommend having them film on Zoom because the quality is just not very good.
Gotcha. Okay. Very interesting. So you're on Zoom, they're recording on their iPhone, and then you're just guiding them through on what to say and how to say. So your setup kind of looks like this, right? And then I'll just say it, and then you're like, just repeat that and send me the video.
Exactly.
Yo, Kara from 4 years ago would be very proud.
She would. So would Jeff from 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Really appreciate your time. I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people's brains have been broken on not just the branding, the content we leverage, but more importantly, realizing that like that software layer of that 100-day journey, or that UX layer, is that stickiness for not just like people sticking around longer, but stickiness of compliance, which has been the biggest challenge. And if an agency owner can listen to the call from one tag, automatically send, hey, we listened to the call, review this objection handling sheet, and schedule your one-on-one for implementation. Now they're not paying just for a service. Now they're paying for a transformation. And they're paying for someone for mentorship and coaching, but it's mechanized. And they'll never fucking leave you.
Exactly.
Well done. Well
Exactly.
fucking done. You have
Thank you.
last call. If there's one thing somebody could stick with from this interview, what would that be?
Focus on the results that you get for your clients, and you'll never go poor. That person's going to go, they have all the, realtors hang out with other realtors.
Yeah.
Dentists hang out with other dentists, and they're going to tell them what's working and what's not working for them. So stop focusing and obsessing so much over your sales acquisition and put some love back into that client.
Love it. Well done. Everyone, we're going to break. Kara, don't hang up. We'll debrief. Everybody, Kara McMaster. Thanks so much. All right, guys. See you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.